Parliament is a legislative organ of the Union Government. The Parliament is a legislative organ of the Union Government. It occupies a preeminent and central position in the Indian democratic political system due to adoption of the parliamentary form of government. It occupies a preeminent and central position. It occupies a preeminent and central position in the Indian democratic political system due to adoption of the parliamentary form of government. Parliamentary form of government. Okay, it occupies a preeminent and central position in the Indian democratic political system due to adoption of the parliamentary form of government, also known as Westminster model of government, which is also known as the Westminster form of model of government. Article 79 to 122. Article 178 to 122. Part 5 of the Constitution deals with the organization, composition, duration, officers, procedures, privileges, powers, and so on of the Parliament. Organization of Parliament. Under the Constitution, the Parliament of India consists of three parts. Is the President, the Council of State, and the House of the People. The President, Council of State, and the House of the People. President, Council of State, and the House of the People. President of the Council of State and the House of the People. In 1954, the Hindi names Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha were adopted by the Council of States. In 1954, the Hindi names Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha were adopted by the Council of States and the House of People respectively. The Rajya Sabha is the upper house, that is second chamber or House of Elders, and the Lok Sabha is the lower house, that is first chamber or popular house. The formal represents the formal The former represents the states and union territories of Indian Union. The former represents the states and union territories of the Indian Union, while the later represents the people of India as a whole. The former represents the states and union territories of the Indian Union, while the later represents the people of India as a whole. So, Hindi names of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha were propounded in 1954. The Hindi names Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha were propounded in 1954. The President of India is not a member of either House of Parliament and does not sit in the Parliament during its meeting. He is an integral part of the Parliament. This is because the bill passed by both the Houses of Parliament cannot become law without the President's assent. He also performs certain functions relating to the proceeding of the Parliament. For example, he summons and prorogues both the Houses and dissolves Lok Sabha, addresses both the Houses, issues ordinances when they are not in session, and so on. In this respect, the framework of the Indian Constitution relied on the British partner rather than the American partner, and between the Parliament consists of the Crown, King or Queen, the House of Lords, Upper House, and the House of Commons, that is lower house. By contrast, the American President is not an integral part of the legislature. In US, the legislature, which is known as the Congress, consists of Senate upper house and the House of Representatives, that is the lower house, Senate that is the upper house, and the House of Representatives that is lower house. The parliamentary form of government emphasizes on the interdependence between the legislative and the executive organ. The parliamentary form of government emphasizes on the interdependence between the legislative and executive organ. As we have the president and parliament, like the crown and parliament in Britain, the presidential form of government on the other hand lays stress on the separation of legislative and executive organ, as the American president is not regarded as a constituent part of the Congress. Next is composition of the two houses. Composition of the Rajya Sabha. The maximum strength of the Rajya Sabha is fixed at 250, out of which 238 are to be the representative of the states and union territories, and 12 are dominated by the president. Fixed at 250, in which 12 are nominated by the president. 238 are the representation of the states and unities. At present, the Rajya Sabha has 245 members. All these 229 members represent all the states, and 4 members represent the UTs, and 12 members are nominated by the president. At present, Rajya Sabha has 245 members. At present, Rajya Sabha has 245 members. Of these 229 members present the state, 4 members represent the UTs, and 12 members are nominated by the president. Total 250 of them, in which 230 are to be the representative of the state and the UTs, and 12 are nominated directly. Fixed at 250, 238 A अलग हो गए, and 12 are to be nominated by the president, and 12 are to be nominated by the president, and 12 are to be nominated by the president, and 12 are nominated by the president. The fourth schedule of the Constitution deals with the allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha to the states and UTs. DEAR. The fourth schedule of the Constitution deals with the allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha to the states and UTs. Representation of seats. Allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha to the states and UTs. The representative of states in the Rajya Sabha are elected by the elected member of state legislative assemblies. The representative of states in the Rajya Sabha are elected by the elected members of the state legislative assemblies. The election is held in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. The seats are allocated to the states in the Rajya on the basis of population. As number of representative varies from state to state. For example, Uttar Pradesh has 31 members, while Tripura has 1 member only. However, in USA, all states are given equal representation in the Senate irrespective of their population. US has 50 states and the Senate has 100 members from each state. So, the representative of state in the Rajya are elected. जो representative होते हैं representative of state in the Rajya Sabha are elected by the elected member of state legislative assemblies. The representative of state in the Rajya Sabha are elected by the elected member of state legislative assemblies by the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. Proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. Next is representation of UTs. The representative of each UT in the Rajya Sabha are indirectly elected. They are indirectly elected. The representative of each UT in Rajya Sabha are indirectly, जो भी representative होते हैं of each union territory in the Rajya Sabha are indirectly elected by members of an electoral college specially constituted for the purpose. This election is also held in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. Out of which 9 UTs, only 3, that is Delhi, Puducherry and Jammu and Kashmir. Out of the 9 union territories, only 3, that is Delhi, Puducherry and Jammu and Kashmir, have representation in Rajya Sabha. The population of other 6 UT are too small to have any representation. Only 3 का representation है. 3, that is Delhi, Puducherry and Jammu and Kashmir have representation. इन्हीं के पास है, और all the other 6 UTs are too small. और other 6 जो हैं, these are too small. Other 6 are too small. So the representative of each UT in the Rajya Sabha are indirectly elected by an electoral college constituted for that purpose. Nominated member. The president nominates 12 members to the Rajya Sabha from people who have special knowledge or practical experience in art, literature, science and social service. The rationale behind this principle of nomination is to provide eminent person a place in the Rajya Sabha without going through the process of election. It should be noted here that American senators are not nominated members. Composition of Lok Sabha. The maximum strength of the Lok Sabha is fixed at 552, out of which 530 members are to be representative of the states, out of which 532 members are to be the representative of the states, 20 members are to be the representative of the union territories. So 543 members are present and maximum 550 strength over here. Okay, this was earlier. Earlier strength. मतलब ये पहले होता था. अभी maximum strength is 500. Lok Sabha has 545 members. दो तो हट गए ना. At present the Lok Sabha has 545 members. Out of these 530 members represent the states, 13 members represent the UTs, 13 members represent the UTs. At present the Lok Sabha has 545 members. Of these 530 members represent the states, 13 members represent the UTs. 543 members. So the maximum is 500. Okay, maximum is 500. 530 represent the states and 13 represent the union territories. Representation at present Lok Sabha has 545 members. Of these, okay, representation of state. The representative of states in the Lok Sabha are directly elected by the people from the territorial constituencies in the state. The election is based on the principle of universal electoral franchise. Every Indian citizen who is above 18 years of age and who is not disqualified under the provision of the constitution or any law is eligible to vote in such election. The voting age was reduced from 21 to 18 years by 61st Constitutional Amendment Act of 1988. Representation of union territories. The Constitution has empowered representation of states. Representation of UTs. The Constitution empowers the Parliament to prescribe the manner of choosing the representative of the UTs in the Lok Sabha. Representation of states की बात की जाए तो representation of states में ये लोक सभा directly elected by the people from the territorial constituencies in the state on the basis of universal electoral franchise. और यहाँ पे representation of states, they are elected by the elected members of the state legislative assemblies. They are elected by the elected members of the state legislative assemblies. And in the representation of UTs, representatives are elected on the basis of an specially constituted electoral college formed for that purpose only. They are indirectly elected by members of an electoral college specially constituted for the purpose. And in the case of Lok Sabha representation of UT, the Constitution has empowered the Parliament. The Constitution has empowered the Parliament to prescribe the manner of choosing the representative of the union territory in the Lok Sabha. Accordingly, the Parliament has enacted the UT, the direct election to the House of the People Act 1965, by which members of the Lok Sabha from the union territory are also chosen by direct election. Accordingly, the Parliament has enacted the UT, direct election to the House of the People Act 1965. Accordingly, the Parliament has enacted the UT, direct election to the House of the People Act 1965, by which the members of Lok Sabha on the union territories are also chosen in direct election. The Parliament has enacted the union territories, direct election to the House of the People. Union territories direct election to the House of the People Act 1965. Next is nominatory member that has been cancelled. System of election to the Lok Sabha. The various aspects related to the system of election to the Lok Sabha are as follows. Territorial constituencies for the purpose of holding direct election to the Lok Sabha. Each state is divided into territorial constituencies. Each state is divided into territorial constituencies. In this respect, the Constitution makes the following two provisions. Each state is allotted a number of seats in the Lok Sabha in such a manner that the ratio between the number and its population is the same for all the state. This provision does not apply to a state having a population of less than 6 million. Each state is allotted a number of seats in the Lok Sabha in such a manner the ratio between the number and its population is the same for all the states. The provision does not apply to a state having a population of less than 6 million. This each state is allotted a number of seats in the Lok Sabha in such a manner that the ratio between the number and its population is the same for all the states. Each state is allotted a number of seats in the Lok Sabha in such a manner that the ratio between that number and its population is the same for all the states. This provision does not apply to a state having a population of less than 6 million. Each state is allotted a number of seats in the Lok Sabha in such a manner that the ratio between the number and its population is the same for all the states. Each state has allotted a number of seats in the Lok Sabha in such a manner that the ratio between the number and its population is the same for all the state. This provision does not apply to a state having a population of less than 6 million. Each state is allotted a number of seats in the Lok Sabha in such a manner that the ratio between the number and its population is the same for all the states. This provision does not apply to a state having a population of less than 6 million. Each state is divided into territorial constituencies in such a manner that the ratio between the population of each constituency and the number of seats allotted to it is the same throughout the state. And the Constitution ensures that there is uniformity of representation and the due respect between different states and between different constituencies in the same state, between different states and between different constituencies in the same state. The expression population means the population as ascertained at the preceding census, of which a relevant figure have been published. Readjustment after each census, after every census, a readjustment is to be made in allocation of seats in the Lok Sabha to the state, and allocation of seats in the Lok Sabha to the states, division of each state into territorial constituencies. Parliament is empowered to determine the authority and the manner in which it is to be made. Accordingly, the Parliament has enacted the Delimitation Commission Act 4 times, that is in 1950 to 1960 to 72 and 2002. 50 to 60 to 72 and 2002 for this purpose. 50 to 60 to 72 and 2002 for this purpose. Delimitation Commission Acts in 1950 to 60 to 72 and 2002 for this purpose. The 42nd Amendment Act of 1976 provides the allocation of seats in the Lok Sabha to the states at the division of each state into territorial constituencies till the year 2000 at the 1971 level. This ban on readjustment was extended for another 25 years, that is up to year 2026 by the 84th Amendment Act of 2001. That is up to year 2026 by the 84th Amendment Act of 2001 with the same objective of encouraging population limiting measures. The 84th Amendment Act of 2001 also part the government to undertake readjustment and rationalization of territorial constituency in the state on the basis of the population figure of 1991 census. 1991 census. Later, the 87th Amendment Act of 2003 provided for the delimitation of constituencies on the basis of 2001 census and not 1991 census. However, this can be done without altering the number of seats allotted to each state in the Lok Sabha. So, firstly, the 42nd Amendment Act of 1976, it froze the allocation of seats in the Lok Sabha. It froze the allocation of seats in the Lok Sabha to the states and the division of each state into territorial constituencies till the year 2000 and the 1971 level till the year 2000. Then comes the 84th Amendment Act of 2001, which extended this ban on readjustment for another 25 years, that is till 2026. And 84th Amendment Act of 2001 has put a ban on readjustment, okay, till the year according to the census 1991. Then comes the 87th Amendment Act of 2003 provided for the delimitation of constituencies on the basis of 2001 census. Reservation of seat for SC and SC, though the Constitution has abandoned the system of communal representation. It provides for the reservation of seat for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe in the Lok Sabha on the basis of population ratio. Originally, this reservation was to operate for 10 years, that is up to 1960, but it has been extended continuously since then by 10 years each time. Okay, the reservation was to operate for 10 years, but it has been extended continuously since then by 10 years each time. Now, under the 95th Amendment Act of 2009, this reservation is to last until 2020. 95th Amendment Act of 2009, this reservation is to last until 2020. Those seats are reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. They are elected by all the voters in a constituency without any separate electorate. A member of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe is also not debarred from contesting a general non-reserved seat The 84th Amendment Act of 2001 provided for refixing of the reserve seats on the basis of the population figure of 1991 census as applied to racialization of the general seat. Later, the 87th Amendment Act of 2003 provided for the refixing of the reserve seat on the basis of 2001 census. Later, the 87th Amendment Act of 2003 provided for the refixing of the reserve seat on the basis of 2001 census and not the 1991 census. First, past the post system. Though the Constitution has adopted the system of proportional representation in the case of Rajya Sabha, it has not preferred the same system in the case of Lok Sabha. Instead, it adopted the system of territorial representation, that is, first past the post system for the election of the members to the Lok Sabha. First past the post system. First past the post system for the election of the members to the Lok Sabha. Under territorial representation, every member of the legislature represents a geographical area. Under territorial representation, every member of the legislature represents a geographical area known as a constituency. Under territorial representation, every member of the legislature Under the territorial representation, every member of the legislature represents a geographical area known as a constituency. Under the territorial representation, every member of the legislature represents a geographical area known as a constituency. Under the territorial representation, every member of the legislature represents a geographical area which is known as a constituency. Under the territorial representation, every member of the legislature represents a geographical area which is known as a constituency. From each constituency, only one representative is elected, and such a constituency is known as a single member constituency. In this system, a candidate who secures majority of votes is declared elected. The simple majority of representation does not represent the whole electorate. In other words, it does not secure due representation to minorities. The system of proportional representation aims at removing the defects of territorial representation. Under the system, all sections of the people get representation in proportion to the number. Even the smallest portion, a section of the population gets its due share of representation in the legislature. There are two kinds of proportional representation, namely single transferable vote and the list system. In India, the first kind is adopted for the election of member to the Rajya Sabha and the state legislative council, and for electing the president and the vice president. There are two kinds of proportional representation, namely single transferable list and the list system. There are two kinds. Two kinds proportional representation होता है. First is single transferable vote and the second is the list system. And second is the list system. In India, the first kind is adopted for the election of members to the Rajya Sabha and the state legislative councils, and for electing the president and the vice president. Those some members of the Constituent Assembly advocated the system of proportional representation for the election of members to the Lok Sabha. The Constitution has not adopted the system due to two reasons: difficulty for the voter to understand the system, which is complicated to the low literacy scale in the country, unsuitability to the parliament government due to tendency of the system to multiply political parties, leading to instability in the government. Next is additionally, the system of proportional representation has the following demerit: it is highly expensive. It does not give any scope for organizing by-election. It is highly expensive. It does not give any scope for organizing by-elections. It is highly expensive. It does not give any scope for organizing by-election. It eliminates intimate contact between voters and representatives. It promotes minority thinking and propensity. It increases the significance of party system and decreases that of the voter. Duration of the 2 hours. The duration of the Rajya Sabha. The Rajya Sabha first constituted in 1952 is a continuing chamber. That is, the Rajya Sabha first constituted in 1952. Rajya Sabha firstly constituted in 1952 is a continuing chamber. That is, it is a permanent body. It is a permanent body and not subject to dissolution. However, 1/3 of its members retire every second year. The seats are filled up by fresh elections and presidential nomination at the beginning of every third year. The retiring member are eligible for election and renomination any number of times. The Constitution has not fixed the term of the office of member of the Rajya Sabha and left it at the Parliament. The Constitution has not fixed the term of office of the members of the Rajya Sabha. The Constitution has not fixed the term of the office of members of the Rajya Sabha and left it at the Parliament. The Constitution has not fixed the term of the office of member of the Rajya Sabha and left it to the Parliament. Accordingly, the Parliament and the Representation of the People Act of the provided that the term of office of a member of the Rajya Sabha shall be 6 years. Constitution has not fixed the term. See, Constitution has not fixed the term. Constitution has not fixed the term, but the Parliament in the RP Act 1951 provided that the term would be 6 years. So it shall be 6 years. That is about the President of India to curtail the term of member chosen in the first Rajya Sabha. The Act also empowered the President of India to curtail the term of members chosen in the first Rajya Sabha. In the first budget was decided by lottery as to who should retire. The Act also empowered the President of India to curtail the term of members chosen in the first Rajya Sabha. In the first budget was decided by lottery as to who should retire. Further, the Act also authorized the President to make provision to govern the order of retirement of the member of the Rajya Sabha. Duration of the Lok Sabha. Unlike the Rajya Sabha, the Lok Sabha is not a continuing chamber. Its normal term is 5 years from date of its first meeting after the general election, after which it automatically dissolves. However, the President is authorized to dissolve the Lok Sabha at any time, even before the completion of 5 years, and this cannot be challenged in court of law. Its normal term is 5 years, and before completion of 5 years, and this cannot be challenged in a court of law. Further, the term of the Lok Sabha can be extended during the period of national emergency, be a law of Parliament for 1 year at a time for any length of time. However, this extension cannot continue beyond a period of 6 months after the emergency has ceased to operate. Members of Parliament qualification. The qualification lays down the following qualification for a person to be chosen as a member of the Parliament. He must be a citizen of India. He must make and subscribe to an oath of affirmation for the person authorized by the Election Commission. For the purpose in his oath of affirmation, he swears to be a true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India, to uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India. He must be not less than 30 years of age in the case of Rajya Sabha and not less than 25 years of age in the case of the Lok Sabha. He must not be less than 30 years of age in the case of the Rajya Sabha and not less than 25 years of age in the case of the Lok Sabha. He must possess other qualification prescribed by Parliament. Parliament has laid down the following additional qualification in the RPA. He must be registered as an voter for a parliamentary constituency. This is same in the case of both the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. The requirement that a candidate contesting an election to the Rajya Sabha from a particular state should be elected in that particular state was dispensed with in 2003. The requirement that a candidate contesting an election to the Rajya Sabha from a particular state should be an elector in that particular state was dispensed of. This is an important point, that the requirement that the candidate contesting an election to the Rajya Sabha from a particular state should be elected in that particular state was dispensed of in 2003. In 2006, the Supreme Court upheld the constitutional validity of this change. He must be a member of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe in any state or UT if he wants to contest a seat reserved for them. However, a member of scheduled caste or scheduled tribe can also contest a seat not reserved for them. Next is the qualification. Under the Constitution, a person shall be disqualified for being elected as a member of Parliament if he holds any office of profit under the union or state government, except that of a union minister or any other office exempted by Parliament. If he is of unsound mind and stands to declared by a court, if he is an undischarged insolvent, if he is not a citizen of India or has voluntarily got the citizenship of a foreign state or is under any acknowledgement of allegiance to a foreign state, if he is so disqualified under any law made by the Parliament, the Parliament has laid down the following additional disqualification in the RPA. He must not have been found guilty of certain election offences or corrupt practices in election. He must not have been convicted for any offences resulting in imprisonment for 2 or more years, but the detention of a person under preventive detention law is not a disqualification. He must not have failed to lodge an account of his election expenses within time. He must not have any interest in government contract work or services. He must not be director or managing director nor hold an office of profit in a corporation which the government has at least 25% share. He must not have been dismissed from government service for corruption or disloyalty to the state. He must not have been convicted for promoting and image of different groups or for the offense of bribery. He must not have been punished for preaching and practicing social crimes such as untouchability, dowry, and sati. He must not have been punished for preaching and practicing social crimes such as untouchability, dowry, and sati. He must not have been punished for preaching and practicing social crimes such as untouchability, dowry, and sati. On the question whether a member is subject to any of the above disqualification, the president's decision is final. However, he should obtain the opinion of the election commission and act accordingly. On the question whether a member is subject to the above disqualification, subject to disqualification, the president decision is final. On the subject of disqualification, on the subject of any of the above disqualification, the president's decision is final, and he should obtain the opinion of the election commission and act accordingly. Disqualification on ground of defection. The constitution also lays down that a person shall be disqualified from being a member of parliament if he is so disqualified on the grounds of defection under the provision of the 10th schedule. A member incurs disqualification under defection law if he voluntarily gives up the membership of the political party on which whose ticket is elected to the house, on whose ticket he is elected to the house. If he voluntarily gives up the membership of that political party, if he voluntarily gives up the membership of that political party on whose ticket is elected to the house, if he voluntarily gives the membership of the political party, if he voluntarily gives up the membership of that political party on whose ticket he is elected to the House, if he votes or abstains from voting in the House contrary to any direction given by his political party. Firstly, he voluntarily gives his membership. Second, if he votes or abstains from voting in the House contrary to any direction, if he votes or abstains from voting in the House contrary to any direction given by his political party. Next is if an independently elected member joins any political party. If an independently elected member joins any political party. If any nominated member joins any political party after the expiry of 6 months. If any nominated members join any political party after the expiry of uh, 6 months. The 10th schedule, a member incurs disqualification under the defection law if he voluntarily gives up the membership of the political party. A member incurs disqualification under the defection law if he voluntarily gives the membership of that house. Okay, if he abstains from voting and works against the discretion of the political party, goes against the discretion of the political party, or abstains from voting, voluntarily giving up the membership. Next is if he is an independently elected member and he joins a political party after 6 months, and if he is a nominated member and joins a political party after 6 months. If any independently elected member joins any political party, and if any nominated member joins any political party after the expiry of 6 months, the question of disqualification under the 10th schedule is decided by the chairman in the case of Rajya Sabha and speaker in the case of Lok Sabha, and not by the president of India. In 1992, the Supreme Court ruled that decision of the chairman and speaker in the Jakarta is subject to judicial review. The question of disqualification under the 10th schedule is decided by the chairman in the case of Rajya Sabha and speaker in the case of the Lok Sabha. In 1992, the Supreme Court ruled that the decision of the chairman speaker in this regard is subject to judicial review. Kyoto Holovan case, the vacating of seats. A member of parliament vacate a seat, double membership. A person cannot be a member of both houses of parliament at the same time. This is RP and provide for the following. If a person is elected to the both houses of the parliament, he must intimate within 10 days in which house he desires to serve. In default of such intimation, his seat in the Rajya Sabha becomes vacant. जो बड़ा हाउस है उसमें से vacant हो जाएगी. If a person is elected to both houses of parliament, he must intimate within 10 days in which he desires to serve, and in default of such information, his seat in the Rajya Sabha becomes vacant. If a sitting member of one house is also elected to the other house, if a sitting member of one house is also elected to the other house, his seat in the first house becomes vacant. If a sitting member of one house also becomes a member also elected to the other house, is also elected to the other house, his seat in the first house becomes vacant. If a person is elected to 2 seats in the house, he should exercise his option for one, otherwise both seats become vacant. If a person is elected to 2 seats in a house, एक ही हाउस में 2 सीट्स में elect हो गया, तो he shouldn't exercise is option for one, otherwise both seats become vacant, otherwise both the seats becomes vacant, otherwise both the seats become vacant. Double membership, a person cannot be a member of both the houses of parliament at the same time. Thus the representation of people act provides for the following: if a person is elected to both the houses of parliament, then it was intimate within 10 days in which house it decides to serve. In default of such intimation, a seat in the Rajya Sabha becomes vacant. If a person is elected to both the houses of parliament, he must intimate within 10 days in which house it desires to serve. In default of such intimation, his seat in the Rajya Sabha becomes vacant. And if a sitting member of one house is also elected to the other house, his seat in the first house becomes vacant. If a person is elected to two seats in a house, he should exercise his option for one, otherwise both the seats becomes vacant. Similarly, a person cannot be a member of both the parliament and the state legislature at the same time. If a person is so elected, his seat in the parliament becomes vacant if he does not resign his seat in the state legislature within 14 days. Disqualification: if a member of parliament becomes subject to any of the disqualifications specified in the constitution, his seat becomes vacant. Here the list of disqualification also includes disqualification on the ground of defection under the provision of the 10th schedule of the constitution. Resignation: a member may resign his seat by writing to the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, speaker of the Lok Sabha, as the case may be. The seat falls vacant and the resignation is accepted. However, the chairman, speaker may not accept the resignation if he is satisfied that it is not voluntary or genuine. Absence: the House can declare the seat of a member vacant if he is absent from all its meeting for a period of 6 days without its permission. 60 days. A house can declare the seat of a member vacant if he is absent from all its meeting for a period of 60 days without its permission. In completing the period of 60 days, no account shall be taken of any period during which the house is prorogued or adjourned for more than 4 consecutive days. In completing the period of 60 days, no account shall be taken of any period during which the house is prorogued or adjourned for more than 4 consecutive days. In completing the period of 60 days, no account shall be taken of any period during which the house is prorogued or adjourned for more than 4 consecutive days. In completing the period of 60 days, no account shall be taken of any period during which the house is prorogued or adjourned for more than 4 consecutive days. If he is absent from all the meeting for a period of 60 days without its permission, other cases, a member is to vacate his seat in the parliament. If his election is declared void by the court, if he is expelled by the house, if he is elected to the office of president and vice president, if he is appointed to the office of governor of a state, if a disqualified person is elected to the parliament, the constitution if a disqualified person is elected to the parliament, the constitution lays down no procedure to declare the election void. This matter is dealt by the RPA 1951, which enables High Court to declare an election void, which declares an High Court, to declare an election void. It is if a disqualified candidate is elected, the aggrieved party can appeal to the Supreme Court against the order of the High Court in this regard. A High Court can declare an election void. Next is oath or affirmation. Every member of either house of parliament before taking a seat in the house has to make and subscribe to an oath or affirmation before the president or some person appointed by him for this purpose. And this oath or affirmation, member of parliament swears to bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India, to bear to bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India, to uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, to faithfully discharge the duty upon which he is about to enter. To bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India, to uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, to faithfully discharge the duty upon which he is about to enter. Unless a member takes oath, he cannot vote and participate in the proceeding to the House, and does not become eligible to parliamentary privileges and immunities. A person is liable to penalty of 500 for each day he sets or votes as a member in the House in the following condition: before taking and subscribing to the prescribed oath or affirmation, when he knows that he is not disqualified or that he is disqualified for its membership, when he is not qualified or that he is disqualified for its membership, or when he knows that he is prohibited from sitting or voting in the House by virtue of any parliamentary law. Salaries and allowances: member of either house of parliament are entitled to receive such salary and allowances as may be determined in parliament, as there is no provision of pension in the constitution. However, parliament has provided pension to the members. There is no provision there is no provision of pension in the constitution, but there is no provision of pension in the constitution, but parliament has provided pensions to the members. In 1954 parliament enacted the salaries allowances. In 1954 the parliament enacted the salaries allowances and pension of members of parliament act. In 1954 the parliament enacted the salaries allowances and pensions of members of parliament act. The parliament enacted the salaries allowances and pension of member of parliament act. In 2018 the salary of members were increased from 50,000 to 1 lakh per month. The constituency launched from 45,000 to 70,000 per month. And for 6 months, the launch from 45,000 to 60,000 per month. Earlier in 2010, the weekly allowance was increased from 1,000 to 2,000 per each day of residence and duty. Okay. From 1976, the members are also entitled to a pension on a graduated scale for each firefighter as a member of each house of parliament. Besides, they are provided with traveling facility, free accommodation, telephone, vehicle, advanced medical facilities, and so on. The salaries and allowances of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha and the Chairman and Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha are also determined by Parliament. They are charged on the Constitutional Fund of India and thus are not subject to the annual vote of Parliament. In 1953, the Parliament enacted the Salaries and Allowances of Officers of Parliament Act. Officers of Parliament Act. Under this Act, Officers of Parliament means any of the following officers, namely the Chairman, Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha, Speaker, and Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha. 1.25 lakh to 4 lakh per month. Similarly, other officers of Parliament are the Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha and the Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha and entitled to receive salary per month at the same rate as payable to the members of Parliament. Further, each officer of Parliament rather than the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha is entitled to receive a daily allowance for each sitting in the whole of Parliament at the same rate as is payable to the member of Parliament. Also, each officer of Parliament rather than the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha is entitled to receive a constituency allowance at the same rate as is payable to the member of Parliament according to the same act. The century allowances paid to the Speaker of the Lok Sabha at the same rate as is payable to a cabinet minister, that is 2,000 per month. Like this, the century allowances paid to the Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha and the Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha at the same rate as is payable to a Minister of State, like this. Okay, Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha and Deputy Speaker Chairman of the Rajya Sabha at 1,000 rupees per month. At 1,000 rupees per month. At 1,000 rupees per month. Next is presiding officers of the Parliament. Each house of Parliament has its own presiding officer. There is a Speaker and a Deputy Speaker for the Lok Sabha and a Chairman and a Deputy Chairman for the Rajya Sabha. A panel of chairpersons for the Lok Sabha and a panel of vice chairperson for the Lok Sabha and a panel of vice chairperson for the Rajya Sabha is also appointed. A Speaker of Lok Sabha. Article 93. Speaker of Lok Sabha is mentioned in Article 93. Speaker of Lok Sabha is mentioned in Article 93. Speaker of Lok Sabha is mentioned in Article 93. Speaker of Lok Sabha is mentioned in Article 93. Election and tenure. The Speaker is elected by the Lok Sabha from amongst its members as soon as may be after its first sitting. Whenever the office of the Speaker falls vacant, the Lok Sabha elects another member to fill the vacancy. The date of decision of the Speaker is fixed by the President. The date of election of the Speaker is fixed by the President. The date of election of the Speaker is fixed by the President. Usually, the Speaker remains in office during the life of the Lok Sabha. However, he has to vacate his office earlier than any of the following three cases: if he ceases to be a member of the Lok Sabha, if he resigns by writing to the Deputy Speaker, Speaker writes to the Deputy Speaker. If he is removed by a resolution passed by majority of all the then members of the Lok Sabha, such a resolution can be moved only after giving 14 days advance notice. When a resolution for the removal of the Speaker is under consideration of the House, he cannot preside at the sitting of the House. Though he may be present, however, he can speak and take part in the proceeding of the House, and at such time, a vote in the first instance, or not in the case of an equality of vote. When a resolution for the removal of the Speaker is under consideration, he cannot preside at the sitting of the House. When a resolution for the removal of Speaker is under consideration, he cannot preside at the sitting of the House. Though he may be present, however, he can speak and take part in the proceeding of the House at such a time and vote in the first instance. Though not in the case of an equality of votes, and vote in the first instance or not in the case of an equality of votes. It should be noted here that whenever the Lok Sabha is dissolved, the Speaker does not vacate his office and continues till the newly elected Lok Sabha meets. It should be noted that whenever the Lok Sabha is dissolved, the Speaker does not vacate his office and continues till the newly elected Lok Sabha meets. Role, parts and function. The Speaker is the head of the Lok Sabha and its representative. He is the guardian of power and privileges of the member of the House as a whole and its committees. He is a principal spokesman of the House and his decision in all parliamentary matters is final. He is thus much more than merely the presiding officer of the Lok Sabha. In this capacity, he is vested with vast variety and vital responsibility and enjoys great honor, high dignity and supreme authority within the House. The Speaker of the Lok Sabha derives his powers and duties from three resources, that is, the Speaker of the Lok Sabha derives his powers and duties from three sources, that is, Constitution of India, the rules of procedure and conduct of business of Lok Sabha and Parliamentary Convention. Residuary powers that are unwritten or unspecified in the rules. Altogether, he has the following powers and duties: he maintains order and decorum in the House for conducting its business, neglecting its proceedings. This is his primary responsibility, and he has final power in this regard. He is a final interpreter of the provision of Constitution of India, the rules of procedure and conduct of business of Lok Sabha and the parliamentary president within the House. He is the final interpreter of the provision of the Constitution of India, the rules of procedure and conduct of business of Lok Sabha and the parliamentary presidents within the House. He is the final interpreter of the provision of the Constitution of India, the rules of procedure and conduct of business of Lok Sabha. He adjourns the House or suspends the meeting in absence of a quorum. He adjourns the House or suspends the meeting in absence of a quorum. The quorum is to constitute the meeting of the House is 1/10 of the total strength of the House. He does not vote in the first instance. He does not vote in the first instance, but he can exercise. He does not vote in the first instance, but he can exercise the casting vote in the case of a tie. In other words, only when the House is divided equally on question, the Speaker is entitled to vote. Such vote is called casting vote, and its purpose is to resolve a deadlock. It resides over the joint sitting of the two houses of Parliament. Such a sitting is summoned by the President to settle a deadlock between the two houses on a bill, and such a sitting is summoned by the President, and such a sitting is summoned by the President to settle a deadlock between the two houses on a bill. You can allow a secret sitting of the House at the request of the leader of the House. When the House sits in secrets, no stranger can be present in the chamber lobby or galleries except with the permission of the Speaker. He decides whether a bill is a money bill or not, and the decision on this question is final. When a money bill is transferred to the Rajya Sabha for recommendation and presented to the President for assent, the Speaker endorses on the bill a certificate that it is a money bill. He decides whether a bill is a money bill or not. When a bill is transferred to the Rajya for recommendation presented to the President for assent, the Speaker endorses on the bill his certificate that it is a money bill. It decides the question of disqualification of a member of the Lok Sabha arising on the ground of defection under the provision of the then schedule. In 1992, the Supreme Court ruled that the decision of the Speaker in the regard is subject to judicial review. He acts as the ex officio chairman of the Indian Parliamentary Group, which is a link between the Parliament of India and the various Parliament of the world. Indian Parliamentary Group. He acts as the ex officio chairman. He acts as the ex officio chairman of the Indian Parliamentary Group, which is a link between the Parliament of India and the various Parliament of the world. He also acts as the ex officio chairman of the Conference of Presiding Officers of legislative bodies in the country. He appoints the chairman of all the parliamentary committees of the Lok Sabha and supervises their functioning. He appoints the chairman of all the parliamentary committees. He appoints the chairman of all the parliamentary committees of the Lok Sabha and supervises the functioning. He himself is the chairman of the BJI committees, B, that is Business Advisory Committee, G, that is General Purpose Committee, Business Advisory Committee, General Purpose Committee, and the Rules Committee. Business Advisory Committee, he himself is the chairman of the Business Advisory Committee, the Rules Committee, and the General Purpose Committee. Independence and impartiality. As office of the Speaker is vested with great prestige, position, and authority. Independence and impartiality become its sine qua non. That is very important. The following provision ensures that independence and impartiality of the office of the Speaker. The following provision ensure that independence and impartiality of the office of the Speaker. He is provided with a security of tenure. He can be removed only by a resolution passed by Lok Sabha or by a special majority, that is majority of all the then members of the House, and then not by ordinary majority, that is majority of the members present and voting. This motion of removal can be considered and discussed only when it has the support of at least 50 members. This removal motion can be discussed only when it has a support of 50 members. Only when it has a support of 50 members. His salaries and allowances are fixed by Parliament. They are charged in the Consolidated Fund of India, and thus they are not subject to the annual vote of the Parliament. His work and conduct cannot be discussed or criticized in the Lok Sabha except in the standard motion. His powers of regulating procedure and conducting business or maintaining order in the House are not subject to the jurisdiction of any court. His powers of regulating procedure, conducting business, or maintaining order in the House are not subject to the jurisdiction of any court. His powers of regulating procedure, conducting business, or maintaining order in the House are not subject to the jurisdiction of any court. His powers of regulating procedure or conducting business or maintaining order in the House are not subject to the jurisdiction of any court. He cannot vote in the first instance. He can only exercise a casting vote in the event of a death. This makes the position of Speaker impartial. He is given a very high position in the order of precedence. He is placed at 7th rank along with the CJI of India. This means he has a higher rank than all the cabinet ministers except the Prime Minister or Deputy Prime Minister. In Britain, the Speaker is strictly a non-party man. There is convention that the Speaker has to resign from his party and remain politically neutral. This healthy convention is not fully established in India, where the Speaker does not resign from the membership of his party on his election to the exalted office. Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha. Like the Speaker, Deputy Speaker is also elected by the Lok Sabha itself from amongst its members. He is elected after the election of the Speaker has taken place. The date of election of the Deputy Speaker is fixed by the Speaker. The date of the election of Deputy Speaker is fixed by the Speaker. Whenever the office of the Deputy Speaker falls within the Lok Sabha election, another member to fill the vacancy. Like the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker remains in office usually during the life of the Lok Sabha. Like the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker remains in office usually during the life of the Lok Sabha. Like the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker remains in office usually during the life of the Lok Sabha. However, he may vacate the office earlier in any of the following three cases. That is, if he ceases to be a member of the Lok Sabha, if he resigns by writing to the Speaker, and if he is removed by resolution by the majority of all the members of the Lok Sabha, and such a resolution can be moved only after giving a 14 days advance notice. The Deputy Speaker performs the duties of the Speaker's office when it is vacant. He also acts as the Speaker when the latter is absent from the sitting of the House. The Deputy Speaker performs the duties of the Speaker's office when it is vacant. He also acts as the Speaker when the latter is absent from the sitting of the House. In both cases, he receives all the powers of the Speaker. He also presides over the joint sitting of both the Houses of Parliament. In the case Speaker is absent from such a sitting, it should be noted here that Deputy Speaker is not subordinate to the Speaker. He is directly responsible to the House. It should be noted that Deputy Speaker is not subordinate to the Speaker. He is directly responsible to the House. The Deputy Speaker has one special privilege that whenever he is appointed as a member of the parliamentary committee, he automatically becomes its chairman. The Deputy Speaker has one special privilege. The Deputy Speaker has one special privilege, that is, the Deputy Speaker has one special privilege. That is, whenever he is appointed as a member of the Parliament committee, he automatically becomes its member. The Deputy Speaker has one special privilege that whenever he is appointed as a member of Parliament, he automatically becomes its chairman. The institution of Speaker and Deputy Speaker originated in India in 1921 under the provision of the Government of India Act of 1919. The institution of Speaker and Deputy Speaker originated in India in 1921 under the provision of the Government of India Act of 1919. Originated in 1921 under the provision of the Government of India Act of 1919, which were named as Montague Chelmsford motive for reforms. At that time, the speaker and the deputy speaker were called the president and the deputy president. At that time, the speaker and the deputy speaker were called as president and deputy president respectively, and the same nomenclature continued till 1947. For 1921, the Governor General of India used to preside over the meeting of the Central Legislative Council. In 1921, Frederick White and jojn were appointed by the Governor General of India as the first speaker and first deputy speaker respectively. Frederick White as the speaker and Sachidanand Sinha as the first deputy speaker. Frederick White and Sachidanand Sinha in 1921. The institutional speaker and deputy speaker originated in India in 1921 under the provision of the Government of India Act of 1990. 19, that is Montague Chelmsford reforms. Frederick White was the speaker and Sachidanand Sinha was the deputy speaker. Okay, Frederick White was the speaker. Frederick White was the speaker. Frederick White was Frederick White was the speaker and Sachidanand Sinha were appointed by the Governor General of India as the first speaker. Frederick White was the speaker and Sachidanand Sinha was the deputy speaker. Frederick White was the speaker and Sachidanand Sinha was the deputy speaker. Okay. Of the Central Legislative Assembly in 1925, Vittal Patel became the first Indian and first elected Speaker of the Central Legislative Assemblies. Vittal Patel became the first Indian and the first elected Speaker of the Central Legislative Assembly. The Government of India Act of 1935 changed the nomenclature of President and Deputy President of the Central Legislative Assembly. The Government of India Act 1935 changed the nomenclature of President and Deputy President of the Central Legislative Assembly to the Speaker and Deputy Speaker respectively. However, the old nomenclature continued till 1947 as a federal part of the 1935 was not implemented. G.V. Mablankar and Anant Sayana Mayangar had the distinction of being the first Speaker and the first Deputy Speaker respectively of the Lok Sabha. G.V. Mablankar also held the post of Speaker in the Constituent Assembly Legislative as well as the Provincial Parliament. He held the post of Speaker of Lok Sabha continuously for 1 decade from 1946 to 1956. So, in the first, when it was introduced in 1921, Frederick White was the speaker and Sachidanand Sinha was the deputy speaker. And in 1925, Vittal J. Patel became the first speaker and first elected speaker of the Central Legislative Assembly. First and the first elected speaker. Next is the Government of India Act of 1935 changed the nomenclature of President and Deputy President. Okay. Next is G.V. Mablankar and Anant Sayana Mayangar had the distinction of being the first speaker and the first deputy speaker. G.V. Mablankar was the first speaker. G.V. Mablankar was the first speaker and the first deputy speaker was Anant Sayana Mayangar. Anant Sayana Mayangar had the distinction of being the first deputy speaker of the Lok Sabha, also held the post of speaker in the Constituent Assembly Legislature as well as the Provisional Parliament. He held the post of Speaker of the Lok Sabha continuously for 1 decade from 1946 to 1956. Panel of Chairperson of Lok Sabha. Under the rules of Lok Sabha, Speaker nominates from among the members of panel of not more than 10%. Any of them will preside over the House in the absence of the Speaker or the Deputy Speaker. Under the rules of the Lok Sabha, the Speaker nominates from among the members. Under the rules of the Lok Sabha, the Speaker nominates. Under the rules of the Lok Sabha, the Speaker nominates from amongst the members a panel of not more than 10 chairpersons. Any of them can preside over the house in the absence of the speaker or the deputy speaker. He has the same power as the speaker when so presiding. He holds office until a new panel chairperson is nominated. When a member of panel chairperson is also not present, any other members determined by House Act or Speaker. It must be emphasized here that a member of the panel of chairperson cannot preside over the House when the office of the Speaker or Deputy Speaker is vacant. During such time, the Speaker duties are to perform by such a member of the House as the President may appoint for the purpose. Under the rules of Lok Sabha, the Speaker nominates from among the members of a panel of not more than 10 chairpersons. Any of them can preside over the House in the absence of the Speaker or the Deputy Speaker. He has the same power as the Speaker when so presiding. He holds the office until a new panel of chairperson is nominated. When a member of the panel of chairperson is also not present, any other member is determined by House Act as the Speaker. It must be emphasized that a member of the member of the panel of a chairperson will not preside over the House when the office of the Speaker or the Deputy Speaker is vacant. When the office is vacant during such time, the Speaker's duties are to be performed by such member of the House as the President may appoint for the purpose. Speaker pro tem as provided by the Constitution. The Speaker of the last Lok Sabha vacates his office immediately before the first meeting of the newly elected Lok Sabha. As provided by the Constitution, the Speaker of the last Lok Sabha vacates his office immediately as provided by the Constitution. The Speaker of the Lok Sabha vacates his office immediately before the first meeting of the newly elected Lok Sabha. As provided by the Constitution, the Speaker of the last Lok Sabha vacates his office immediately before the first meeting of the newly elected Lok Sabha. As provided by the Constitution, the Speaker of the last Lok Sabha vacates his office immediately before the first meeting of the newly elected Lok Sabha. Therefore, the President appoints a member of the Lok Sabha as the Speaker pro tem. Usually, the senior-most member is elected for this. The President himself administers oath to the Speaker pro tem. Okay. As provided by the Constitution, the Speaker of the last Lok Sabha vacates his office immediately before the first meeting of the newly elected Lok Sabha. Therefore, the President appoints a member of the Lok Sabha as the Speaker pro tem. Usually, the senior-most member is elected for this. The President himself administers oath to the Speaker pro tem. The Speaker pro tem has all the powers of the Speaker. He presides over the first sitting of the newly elected Lok Sabha. His main duty is to administer oath to the new members. He also over the House to elect the new Speaker. When the new Speaker is elected by the House, the office of the Speaker pro tem ceases to exist. When the new Speaker is elected by the House, when the new Speaker is elected by the House, the office of the Speaker pro tem ceases to exist. Hence, the office is temporary office existing for few days. The President himself administers oath to the Speaker pro tem. Chairman of Rajya Sabha, the presiding officer of the Rajya Sabha is known as the Chairman. The Vice President of India is the ex-official Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. During any period when the Vice President acts as President or discharges a function of the President, he does not perform the duty of the office of the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. The Chairman of the Rajya Sabha can be removed from his office only if he is removed from the office of the Vice President. As a presiding officer, the powers and function of the Chairman and the Rajya Sabha are similar to those of the Speaker and the Lok Sabha. However, the Speaker has two special powers which are not enjoyed by the Chairman. The Speaker decides that whether a bill is amenable or not, and its decision on the question is final. The Speaker presides over a joint sitting of the two houses of the Parliament. Unlike the Speaker, who is a member of the House, the Chairman is not a member of the House. Chairman is not a member of the House. But like the Speaker, the Chairman also cannot vote in the first instance. He can do cast a vote in the case of an equality of votes. That is, he do have a casting of vote. He do can cast a vote in case of an equality of it. The Vice President cannot preside over a sitting of the Rajya Sabha as its chairman when a resolution for his removal is under consideration. However, he can present and speak in the House. He can be present and speak in the House and can take part in proceeding without voting even at such a time. While the Speaker can vote in the first instance when a resolution for his removal is under consideration of the Lok Sabha. Okay, so this is a distinction between the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, Chairman and the Speaker. Okay, as in the case of the Speaker, the salaries and allowances of the Chairman are also fixed by the Parliament. They are charged on the CFI and thus are subject to annual vote of Parliament. During any period when the Vice President acts as President or discharges the functions of the President, he is not entitled to any salary or allowance payable to the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, but he is paid the salary and allowance of the President during such a time. Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha. The Deputy Chairman is elected by the Rajya Sabha itself from amongst its members whenever the office of the Deputy Chairman falls vacant. The Deputy Chairman is elected by the Rajya Sabha itself. The vacancy. Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. The Deputy Chairman is elected by the Rajya Sabha itself from its member whenever the office of the Deputy Chairman falls vacant. The Rajya Sabha elects another member to fill the vacancy. The Rajya Sabha elects another member to fill the vacancy. The Deputy Chairman may constitute any of the following cases. He can be removed by resolution passed by majority of all the member of the Rajya Sabha and agreed to by the Lok Sabha. He can be removed by resolution passed by majority of all the then member of the Rajya Sabha and agreed to by the Lok Sabha. And in the Lok Sabha by a simple majority. This means that this resolution should be passed in the Rajya Sabha by an effective majority, effective or special majority, and in the Lok Sabha by a simple majority. It must be noted here that effective majority in India is only type of special majority and not the separate one. Further, this resolution can be introduced in the Rajya Sabha, introduced only in the Rajya Sabha and not in the Lok Sabha, but no such resolution can be moved unless at least 14 days advance notice has been given. Okay. Under the rules of Rajya Sabha, the chairman nominates from among the members a panel of vice chairperson. Under the rules of Rajya Sabha, the chairman nominates from among the members of a panel vice chairperson. Any of them can preside over the house in the absence of the chairman or deputy chairman. He has the same power as the chairman when so presiding. He holds office until a new panel of vice chairperson is nominated. When a member of the panel of vice chairperson is also not present, any other person at an appointment without house act as chairman. It must be emphasized here that a member of the panel of vice chairperson can preside over the house when the office of the chairman and the deputy chairman is vacant. उनकी एब्सेंस में कर सकते हैं, पर जब वो खाली होगा ऑफिस तब नहीं कर सकते. During session, the chairman duties are to perform by such a member of the house as a president may appoint for purpose. The elections are held as soon as possible to fill the vacant post. Secretariat of Parliament. Each house of Parliament has separate secretarial staff of its own, though there can be some posts common to both the houses. Their equipment and service conditions are regulated by Parliament. The secretariat of each house is headed by a Secretary General. He is permanent officer and is appointed by presiding officer of the house. The secretariat of each staff is headed by a secretary general. It is headed by a secretary general. It is headed by a secretary general. He is a permanent officer and is appointed by the presiding officer of the house. Leaders in Parliament. Leader of the house. Under the rules of the Lok Sabha, the leader of the house means the prime minister. Leaders in the Parliament. Leaders of the house. Under the rules of the Lok Sabha, the leaders of the house means the prime minister. If he is a member of the Lok Sabha or a minister who is a member of the Lok Sabha and is nominated by Prime Minister appointed as the leader of the house, he is also under the rules of Lok Sabha. The leader of the house means the Prime Minister. If he is a member of the Lok Sabha or a minister who is a member of the Lok Sabha and is nominated by Prime Minister to function as the leader of the house, then he is also leader of the house in the Rajya Sabha. He is a minister and a member of the Rajya Sabha and is nominated by Prime Minister to function as such. The leader of the house in either house is an important functionary and exercises direct influence on the conduct of business. He can also nominate a deputy leader of the house. The same functionary in USA is known as the majority leader. Next is leader of the opposition, in each house of parliament there is leader of opposition, the leader of the largest party having not less than 1/10 of seat of the total strength of the house. The leader of the largest opposition party, the leader of the largest opposition party having not less than 1/10 seat of the total strength of the house, having not less than 1/10 seat of the total strength of the house. In each house of parliament there is a leader of the opposition. The leader of the largest opposition party having not less than 1/10 seat of the total strength of the house is recognized as the leader of opposition in that house. In a parliamentary system of government, the leader of the opposition has a significant role to play. His main functions are to provide a constructive assessment of the policies of the government and to provide an alternative government. In each house of parliament there is the leader of the opposition, the leader of the largest opposition party having not less than 1/10 seat of the total strength of the house. In each house of parliament there is leader of the opposition, the leader of the largest party having not less than 1/10 of the total seats of the house is recognized as the leader of the opposition in that house. In a parliamentary system, the leader of the opposition has a significant role to play. His main function is to provide a constructive criticism of the policies of the government and to provide an alternative government. Therefore, the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha were accorded statutory recognition in 1977. Therefore, the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha accorded statutory recognition. Leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha were accorded statutory recognition in 1977. They were also entitled to the salary allowance and other facilities equivalent to that of a cabinet minister. It was in 1969 that an official leader of the opposition was recognized for the first time. This functionary in US is known as minority leader. In 1969, official leader of the opposition was recognized. Official leader in 1969, official leader of the opposition was recognized for the first time. The same functionary in USA is known as minority leader, and the leader of opposition, the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha got the statutory status in 1977. The British political system has a unique institution called the shadow cabinet. It is formed by the opposition party to balance the ruling cabinet and to prepare its members for future ministerial offices. In the shadow cabinet, almost every member of the ruling cabinet is shadowed by a corresponding member of the opposition cabinet. The shadow cabinet serves as an alternate cabinet if there is a change of government. That is why everyone is described as the leader of opposition as the alternate of prime minister. He enjoys the status of minister and is paid by the government whip. Though the offices of the leader of the house and the leader of opposition are not mentioned in the Constitution of India, they mention the roles of the house and parliamentary statute respectively. The office of whip on the other hand is mentioned neither in the Constitution of India nor in the rules of the house nor in a parliamentary statute. It is based on the convention of the parliamentary government. Yeah, it is based on convention. Whip is based on convention of the leader of the house and leader of opposition. Whip is neither mentioned in the whip is neither mentioned in the constitution nor in the rules of the house parliamentary statute respectively. The office of whip on the other hand is mentioned neither in the constitution of India nor in the rules of the house not in a parliamentary statute. It is based on the convention of the parliamentary government. Every political party, whether ruling or opposition, has its own whip in the parliament. He is appointed by the political party to serve as an assistant floor leader. He is charged with the responsibility of ensuring the attendance of his party member in the large number and seeking their support in favor of or against a particular issue. He is charged with the responsibility of ensuring the attendance of his party member in large number and securing their support in favor of or against a particular issue. He regulates and monitors their behavior in the parliament. The members are supposed to follow the directives given by the whip, otherwise disciplinary action can be taken. Sessions of parliament summoning. The president from time to time summons each house of parliament to meet. The president from time to time summons each house of parliament to meet, but the maximum gap between two sessions of parliament cannot be more than 6 months. In other words, the parliament should meet at least twice a year. There are usually 3 sessions in a year. Summoning, that is president calls. President calls. Okay. The president from time to time summons each house of parliament to meet, but the maximum gap between the two sessions of the parliament cannot be more than 6 months. The president from time to time summons each house of parliament to meet, but the maximum gap between the two sessions of parliament cannot be more than 6 months. In other words, parliament should meet at least twice a year. The president from time to time summons each house of parliament to meet, but the maximum gap between the two sessions of the parliament cannot be more than 6 months. The president from time to time summons each house of parliament to meet, but the maximum gap between the two sessions of the parliament cannot be more than 6 months. In other words, the parliament should meet at least twice a year. There are usually 3 sessions in a year. First is the budget session, monsoon session, and the winter session. Budget session from February to May. February, March, April, May. Okay, February to May. The monsoon session July to September, and the winter session that is November, December. A session of parliament is a period spanning between the first sitting of a house and its prorogation. A session of parliament is a period spanning between the first sitting of a house. So it is the summoning, okay, first sitting of a house and its prorogation, that is last day or dissolution. In the case of the Lok Sabha, during a session, the house may separately transact business. Period spanning between the propagation of a house and its reassembly in a new session is called recess. The period spanning between the prorogation of a house and its reassembly is in a new session is called a recess. Adjournment. A session of parliament consists of many meetings. Each meeting of a day consists of two sittings, that is morning sitting 11 to 1 and post-lunch sitting, that is 2 to 6. A sitting of parliament can be dominated by adjournment or adjournments entire prorogation or dissolution. In the case of Lok Sabha, an adjournment suspends the work in a sitting for a specified time. Adjournment होता है for a specified time. ये suspend करता है work को for a specified time, for a specified time. Adjournment for a specified time. Adjournment said terminating sitting of parliament for an indefinite period. In other words, when the house is adjourned without naming a day or for the assembly, it is called adjournment sendai for an indefinite period. Definitely that is for an indefinite period. Next is the power of adjournment as well as adjournment's entire lies with the presiding officer of the house. The power of adjournment as well as adjournment's entire lies with the presiding officer of the house. It is done by whom? It is done by the presiding officer. And it is also done by the presiding officer. Presiding officer of the house. He can also call a sitting of the house before the date or time to which it has been adjourned, or at any time after the house has been adjourned and die. The power of adjournment as well as adjournments and die lies with the presiding officer of the house. He can also call a sitting of the house before the date or time to which it has been adjourned, or at any time after the house has been adjourned and die. Like the presiding officer of the house, he can also call a sitting of the house before the date or time to which it has been adjourned, or at any time after the house has been adjourned in time. Prorogation: the presiding officer, that is speaker or chairman, declares the house adjourned in time when the business of a session is completed. Within the next few days, the president issues a notification for prorogation of the house. Difference between adjournment and prorogation. Adjournment, it only terminates a sitting and not a session of the house. It not only terminates a sitting but also a session of the house. Prorogation by the president. Prorogation by the president after adjournments in time. It is done by presiding officer of the house. It is done by the president of India. It does not affect the bills or any other business pending before the house, and the same can be resumed when the house meets again. And it also does not affect the bill or any other business pending before the house. However, all pending notices under the rules for introducing bill, lapse, and prorogation, and fresh notices have to be given for the next session. And written prorogation brings to an end all bills and or any other business pending before the houses. Next comes the dissolution. Dissolution. Lok Sabha, being a permanent body, is not subject to dissolution. Only the Lok Sabha is subject to dissolution, unlike a prorogation, which is done by the president after adjournments and dire. Dissolution is the very life of the existing house. Unlike a prorogation की तरह ना होकर के dissolution is the very life of the existing house, and new house is constituted after general election are held. The dissolution of the Lok Sabha may take place in either of two ways: automatic dissolution, that is on the expiry of its tenure of 5 years, so the term or the terms is extended during a national emergency. So, firstly, there could be an automatic dissolution, and second, whenever the president decides to dissolve the house, which he is authorized to do, once the Lok Sabha is dissolved before the completion of its normal tenure, the dissolution is irrevocable. Once the Lok Sabha is dissolved before completion of its normal term, dissolution is irrevocable. When the Lok Sabha is dissolved, all business including bills, motions, resolutions, notices, petitions and so on pending before it, all committees lapses, they to be pursued further and must be reintroduced in the newly constituted Lok Sabha. However, some pending bills and all pending assurance that are to be examined by the committee, the government assurance do not lapse on dissolution of the Lok Sabha. The position with respect to lapsing of bill is as follows. When the Lok Sabha is dissolved, all business including bills, motion, resolution, notices, petitions and so on pending before it or its committee lapse, they some pending bills and pending assurances that are to be examined by the committee. The government assurances do not lapse on the dissolution of the Lok Sabha. A bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses. A bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses whether originating in the Lok Sabha or transmitted to it by the Rajya Sabha. A bill passed by the Lok Sabha but pending in the Rajya Sabha lapses. A bill passed by the Lok Sabha. A bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses. A bill passed by the Lok Sabha lapses but pending in the Rajya Sabha. अच्छा, a bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses. A bill to it by the Rajya Sabha, a bill by the Lok Sabha but pending in the Rajya Sabha lapses. Next is a bill not passed with the 2 hours due to the agreement, and if the president has notified a holding of a joint sitting of the dissolution of Lok Sabha does not lapse. A bill pending in Rajya Sabha but not passed with the Lok Sabha does not lapse. A bill passed before the houses but pending consent of the president does not lapse. A bill passed before the houses but read out to the president for reconsideration of houses does not lapse. Quorum. Quorum, that is, quorum is the minimum number of members required to be present in the house before it can transact any business. Quorum is the minimum number of members required to be present in the house before it can transact any business. It is one tenth of the total number of members in each house, including the presiding officer. Including the, this is an important point. Including the presiding officer. Including the presiding officer. He means there must be at least 55 members present in the Lok Sabha and 25 members present in the Rajya Sabha. If any business is to be conducted, if there is no quorum during a meeting of the house, it is dictated to the presiding officer either to adjourn the house or to suspend the meeting until there is a quorum. Voting in the house all matters at any sitting of either house or joint sitting of both the house are decided by majority vote of the then member present and voting. Impeachment of the president, amendment, removal of the presiding officer of the parliament, and so on requires majority, not ordinary majority. The presiding officer of a house does not vote in the first instance. The presiding officer of house does not vote in the first instance but exercises casting vote in the case of an equality of vote. The proceeding of a house are to be valid irrespective of any unauthorized voting or participation in the vacancy in the membership. All matters at any sitting of either house or joint sitting of both the houses are decided by a majority of vote of the members present and voting. Excluding the presiding officer, all matters at any sitting of either house or joint sitting of both the houses are decided by majority of vote with the member present and voting. Excluding the presiding officer, only a few matters which are specifically mentioned in the constitution, like impeachment of the president, amendment of the constitution, removal of the presiding officer of the parliament, and so on, requires special majority, not ordinary majority. The presiding officer of a house does not vote in the first instance, but exercise the casting vote in the case of an equality of vote. The proceeding of a house are to be valid irrespective of any unauthorized voting or participation or vacancy in its membership. The following point can be noted with respect to the voting procedure of the Lok Sabha. On the conclusion of a debate, the speaker shall put the question and invite those who are in favor of the motion to say A and those who are against the motion to say no, the speaker shall then say, I think the A's or the no's as the case may be have it. If the opinion of the speaker as to the decision of a question is not challenged, he shall say twice the A's or the no's as the case may be have it, and the question before the House shall be determined accordingly. If the opinion of the speaker as to the decision of a question is challenged, he shall order that the lobby be cleared after the lapse of 3 minutes and 30 seconds. He shall put the question a second time and declare whether, in his opinion, the A's or the no's have it. If the opinion so declared is again challenged, he shall direct that the votes be recorded either by operating the automatic vote recorder or by using A's or no slip in the House or with the members going into the lobbies. If in the opinion of the speaker the division is unnecessarily claimed, he may ask the members who are for A and those for no, respectively, to rise in their places, and on count being taken, he may declare the determination of the House. In such a case, the names of the voters shall be recorded. Language in Parliament. The Constitution has declared Hindi and English to be the language for transacting business in Parliament. However, the presiding officer can permit a member to enter the House in his mother tongue. In both houses, arrangements are made for simultaneous translation. The English was to contain content for a plural language. After the expiration of 15 years from the commencement of the Constitution, that is in 1965, the Official Language Act 1963 allowed English to be continued along with Hindi. Official languages of 1960 allowed English to be continued continued along with Hindi to be continued along with Hindi. Rights of ministers and attorney general. Rights of ministers and attorney general. Mm, 403. Article number 80. Now, why is a parliamentary proceeding? Then comes the motion part.